You're not lonely, right? How could you be? You have thousands of friends on Facebook, dozens of unread mentions on Twitter, and don't even get me started about all your LinkedIn connections. Yet, here you are, alone.
Can we please be friends?
I don't have any friends.
It's a terrible thing to be lonesome.
So the funny thing that happened is I was so excited to get to 5,000 LinkedIn followers that I'm like, okay, great, I've made it, but I didn't really know more than maybe a handful of people. I still felt lonely and disconnected. So it's not that I was physically alone, but it felt the same way to me because I didn't have the people I could call in the middle of the night, and I didn't have those meaningful relationships in my life.
That's Keck. His work is dedicated to helping people find deeper connections. But this career quest started because, like a lot of us, he felt alone. The loneliness epidemic is nothing new. In the last 50 years, the rates of loneliness have doubled in the United States. The UK has even adopted a minister of loneliness. And in Canada, doctors are starting to consider social prescriptions for those struggling with isolation. For a long time, seniors have been the main group that we've considered to be the most isolated and, well, lonely. But according to Cigna's US Loneliness Index, young adults might actually be the loneliest of us all. The study's chief medical officer said that loneliness can have the same impact on mortality as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. It may feel like we're always connected with social media, but is that really true? Research by Robin Dunbar suggests that most of us can only maintain about 15 people in our group of good friends and only 5 people in our support group, aka our best friends and often our family members. It isn't just social media. People are also turning to technology to bridge the gap. Have you ever heard of mukbang?
Yay. I haven't had this in so long.
Oh, okay.
On my own, super lonely.
I'm all alone.
Although this specific YouTube genre is really about eating a lot of food on camera, The Guardian suggests that it might actually be a medium people are turning to feel less alone at dinner time. Even AI is coming into the picture. In China, a chatbot named Xiaowei's actually remembers your previous conversations and looks on the web for the appropriate answer.
You're not talking to a computer, you're talking with a friend.
Clinical psychologist Dr. Miriam Ahmed says although tech can be helpful, it can also be problematic, especially when it comes to creating online behavior and expecting that to translate into everyday life.
The biggest roadblock that I've been finding in my practice is this need to immediately connect and find a deep, meaningful friendship or that relationship.
Dr. Ahmed points out that it still takes time to make those connections. We can't just swipe right and find a close friend. Face-to-face time and a strong social group are really important for our overall health and well-being. How important? Well, remember this. Loneliness can have the same impact on mortality as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Turns out the effects go beyond that.
Got a light.
A study out of the University of Chicago found that lonely people have higher levels of stress and find everyday normal activities more stressful. A 9-year study published in the American Journal of Epidemiology that began in 1965 had similar findings. They found that people with close social ties but unhealthy lifestyle habits actually lived longer than those with poor social ties but healthy habits. Social connections can even contribute to how likely someone is to recover from things like coronary artery disease and a heart attack. So all that spinach I'm eating is basically a waste if I'm sitting in a room not connecting with anyone. If our social circle and friends matter to our health, then how do we start to make those new connections? Julian Ilson is the founder of We3, an app that looks to help people make new friends. But just like Jan, That business all started out of his own struggle to connect.
There's this stigma around saying that you're looking for new friends, right? We see it as a character flaw, or there must be just something weird about you because you're an adult. As an adult, you're expected to have your group of friends already.
Julian believes that lack of connection is a result of a few things.
The nature of work is changing a lot in the past decade. A lot of people work from home, telecommute or participate in the gig economy. And even though these new jobs provide a lot of flexibility, they also dramatically reduce the constant in-person interaction that we used to have. But the really bigger ones are the psychological ones, where it's just more awkward, and we hate awkward encounters.
Remember when you were a kid and you used to just go up to someone and say, "Hey, do you want to play tag with me?" And if that kid wanted to play tag, then suddenly you were best friends? Well, Julian's app is kind of like that.
So the way We3 works is you start off by answering questions about yourself, about your personality, your lifestyle choices, your beliefs and values and interests, a whole bunch of things. And then our algorithm looks at those things and connects you with the most compatible people around you through group chats of 3. What we have found is that conversations between strangers or just in a new budding friendship, whenever there's an awkward silence, it feels like it's just a sign of your incompatibility. And so that's why we're connecting always 3 people at a time. When there's 3 people, you don't really feel that pressure to fill every silence with the first thing that comes to mind. And so you can really kind of kick back, relax, be yourself, and let the conversation flow.
Maybe, like everything else, it's about balance. There are algorithms like Julian's that can help you connect with people you're more likely to get along with, and even apps for specific life-changing events, like having a baby. So, you've managed to connect with somebody online through some witty banter, and now you have to meet that person, face to face.
When we're looking to connect with someone, it's important to keep a few things in mind. One, that it is a give and take process. It's also important for you to be open and share your life and your experiences with them. Not just the positive. When someone is only focusing on presenting a very favorable image of themselves, it becomes difficult at times for the other person to really get to know them. It's not until we have those shared experiences that really make a relationship more meaningful.
Remember Jan? This is where his creation comes in. He came up with a deck of cards that helps people connect without the small talk. The deck is divided into 3 levels of questions so that you build your connection over time.
And the idea of you can't jump in to the deep end of the pool without knowing how to swim, meaning you can't be vulnerable with someone as the first thing. You have to build up to that.
The 3 levels are curious. When have you felt one of the biggest adrenaline rushes in your life? Brave. If you could relive a single moment of your life, which one would you pick? And vulnerable. What is something you're struggling with in your relationships?
The one question that you get asked the most in probably any situation is, so what do you do?
Sales department, Frank Leary speaking.
And studies have shown that 80% of people don't really like their jobs. So by asking that question, you expect somebody that you have never met to talk about something they're not excited about. And at the same time, there's so many other questions you could ask that invites them to talk about something they are excited about. I love asking people, what's a personal win that you've had in the last few months? What's a challenge that you've overcome? Because in a way, it helps them talk about something they're struggling with, which means there's a little bit of vulnerability, but mostly it's a success story.
Showing who you really are is crucial to connection. But that's a place where your self-doubt can take over.
You go to an event by yourself and you just don't feel like you're allowed to even start a conversation with someone. And every single time, the fear in my head was so much bigger than what actually happened.
Jan says to stick to where the food is, because people are more likely to break away from groups to grab an extra cheese stick. Maybe it is true. Food really does connect us all. There are ways that we can use social media and technology to actually foster amazing, deep connections that we otherwise would never have had. We can meet new moms who are going through a similar struggle that we are. We can meet new people in our neighborhood who we've passed thousands of times on the street, we never actually talk to. And when it comes to that face-to-face, sometimes nerve-wracking connection, it all starts with being vulnerable and dedicating something precious, our time. Maybe when it comes down to it, it's as simple as these final words from our friend Jan. It all starts with believing that everyone has a fascinating story. You just have to ask the right questions to find it.